everyone, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. It's December and in my opinion it is quite the time to announce my anticipated releases of 2020. The first book that sounds very interesting is Scavenge the Stars by Tara Sim. It's a young adult retelling of Count of Monte Cristo with a female protagonist. I love a good retelling with a female protagonist. It is my jam. And I also love The Count of Monte Cristo. It's one of my favorite classic adventure stories. In general, I love Alexandre Dumas. If only someone would have retold Three Musketeers, I would be all over this book. Anyway, Scavenge the Stars is a duology. I know that it has a demisexual slash asexual character and a bisexual character. It has an FF relationship as far as I know from Twitter. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's queer. I've read one of Tara Sim's other books, which was Timekeeper, and it was not my cup of tea. I DNF'd it even though the writing was okay. I'm just not into steampunk, clocks, and technology in fantasy. It's not my jam, and I didn't want to torture myself further because I was slogging through this book. This one sounds more aligned to my taste. It's historical fiction, it's adventure. I'm not sure how close to the original it's going to be, and I might be iffy about that because I love the story so much, but we'll see. The book is coming on January 7th, which is still a part of the New Year's holidays here, so I would probably have time to read it. The next one is We Used to Be Friends by Amy Spalding, which is a young adult contemporary about a traumatic breakup between best friends. Amy Spalding is one of my fave contemporary authors after The Summer of Georgie Perez, and this book also is going to have an FF relationship, but it's not going to be the focal point. I'm still really excited. I hope it's going to live up to The Summer of Georgie Perez because I love that book so much. It's coming out also on January 7th. The next one I'm not sure I'm going to pick up. It's like a 50-50 chance. I'm going to look at reviews because it's Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. It's his first young adult fantasy novel. He was writing contemporary before, hard-hitting contemporary, which is not my favorite. I think his themes are going to be more bearable in a fantasy novel for me personally. I'm very concerned though because contemporary authors often, when they switch to fantasy, make similar choices. They write dystopian-ish novels or novels with dystopian themes, and I'm not into dystopian themes. But I'm going to give this novel a chance. It is going to be about two brothers that live in New York and that are part of a vigilante group that fights against those that steal powers from magical creatures. It's kinda the Fantastical Beasts and Where to Find Them, which I find interesting. We'll see. It comes out on January 14th. The next one is from the author I've heard about but I've never read. It's Belle Révolte by Linsey. It's a young adult historical fiction slash fantasy or historical fantasy, and I've heard about Linsey before because of the Mask of Shadow books. I believe that's what it's called, and the reviews were lukewarm. But I want to read this one because it sounds like my type of read. I believe it's set in France, and it is about a girl from an aristocratic family wanting to switch lives with someone else so she could pursue her interests, and doing that. The author also promised some sapphic and sexual rap, and it's going to come out on February 4th. Then on 25th of February comes out a book that I'm not that confident in. It might become one of my faves or I might hate it. So it's Rebelwing by Andrea Tang. It's a young adult fantasy about a black market media smuggler and scholarship student at the prestigious academy. I love an academy setting. I love a private school setting. If it's an only girls school, it's even better because gay. And I also know that it's going to be about a revolution, which is not my thing, but who knows, and some sentient cybernetic dragons. So I'm concerned about the revolution part and the dragon. As we know now, I'm not into mechanics and technology in fantasy worlds. But this book might surprise me because the setting and the character sounds like a lot of fun, and I actually really want to pick it up and see if I'm going to enjoy it or not. March 3rd. A lot of books are going to come out in March. I'm just warning you. The Midnight Lie by Rutkoski. It is a young adult novel which sounds very basic. The structure of the fantasy world sounds not that exciting, but it's from Rutkoski and I've heard so much about her, and it's also supposed to be FF. Plus, I love the cover. It gives me the feels. So I'm putting this on the list because I might actually like it very much. Another book that is coming out on March 3rd is When We Were Magic by Sarah Gailey. It is also young adult and it is about queer witches. I don't need to know anything else. Queer witches are still a jam. Queer witches still rock, and I'm going to read every book that has queer witches in them. And another book that is coming on March 3rd that I'm equally as excited for as for When We Were Magic is The Winter Duke by Claire Eliza Bartlett. It is a young adult fantasy with an FF arranged marriage, and it is also a fairy tale retelling. I believe the protagonist has to marry her brother's fiance because her brother died and she's the next in line, and that is very interesting. I'm always very excited about the queer arranged marriage trope in fiction because we've never had any in traditional fiction. Well, not any, but much, and I think they rock. One of my favorite tropes. Then on March 31st comes out a real exciting release, Two Rogues Make a Right, which is the third book in Seducing the Cedrics by Sebastian. It's an adult romance historical fiction series, and I love it so much. Sebastian is one of the authors that I've discovered this year, and I love her so much. She's one of my faves now. You know, I have a soft spot for historical romances and historical fiction in general, and when it's queer, I'm all for it. Especially with the covers they are giving her, they're so iconic, I cannot get over. I've read so many historical romances when I was younger, my mom's historical romances, and they always had these covers but with straight people, and this one's looks so rad. I don't know what this book is going to be about. I believe it's going to be about Will Sedgwick, but I have literally no information about it, and I'm still very excited. The next book is also coming out on March 31st. It's We Are Totally Normal by Rahul Kanakia. It's a young adult contemporary novel about a guy that hooks up with another guy and has an identity crisis. It is not going to be a groundbreaking book in my opinion, but I'm very excited that queer men are finally getting a chance to tell their own stories, so I always want to support that. Also, the cover is beautiful. Queen of Coin and Whispers by Helen Corcoran is coming out on April 6th. It's a young adult fantasy with an FF romance between a newly crowned queen and her spy. Love that. Very hyped in general for this trend of FF fantasy romances where the main point is the romance and the fantasy is on the second place, because we never get that too. I can name maybe a couple of titles. Hello, this is Nicole from the future that just noticed that her camera had not captured a whole chunk of this video. So I'm going back. Well, you won't notice. I've stopped on the Queen of Coin and Whispers, and I want to continue with the books that are coming out in May. The first one that I'm excited about is The Fascinators by Andrea Eliopulos. It's a young adult urban fantasy that is pitched like the urban cycle with a pinch of Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, which I feel like is a very generic pitch at this point because everyone is pitching their books like that, but I really like the cover and once again always want to support gay men writing about themselves. It's coming out on May 12th. The next one is a book that I believe is going to be on a lot of people's lists. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne, which is going to be young adult. It's prequel to the Hunger Games, which I am reading right now for the first time. I'm currently on Mockingjay, and the prequel is coming out on May 19th. Next, I'm expecting I Kissed Alice by Anna Birch, which is also a young adult contemporary. It's a romance with an FF couple who are going to be enemies and then transform into lovers. I would say that they're more of competitors to lovers, but they have a rivalry over a scholarship, and I feel like it's the most believable to love enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting. Often the hate to love is pulled out of the ass with contemporary books. I believe in hate to love in fantasy because it's not manufactured. You can do a lot, you can kill someone and not put the person in jail. But when it comes to contemporary, there are limits to what can you do, and a lot of stuff is very fake and very manufactured. This type of premise I believe in, and I'm really excited for this book. It's coming out on May 26th. Another book that's coming out on May 26th is Something to Talk About by Meryl Weisner. I'm very excited for this because we don't get any FF romances from top 5s, well, adult romances. And there are so many FM romances that are coming out with the school covers. And I'm very excited for those too, but I'm also like, why would I read them? I'm never really into them that much because they're straight and I don't care. What I want is to see more of those types of romances with women or with men. This one also has a super fun premise. It's about a Hollywood producer or actress named Jo, who is photographed with her assistant whispering something into her ear and her assistant laughing, and rumors that are starting to spread because of this picture. Everyone believes that they are dating and that can ruin their careers basically. Sounds like there's going to be some kind of fake dating. I'm not sure about that. Or there are going to be rumors about them and people are going to believe that they're dating but they are not dating. But they're going to develop feelings for each other. I feel like this could be the red, white and royal blue for the suffix, and I'm very pumped for this. On June 9th, I'm expecting a book titled Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. It's a young adult urban fantasy about a boy named Yadriel and his Latinx family who doesn't want to accept his gender. He goes to a cemetery to prove them wrong, that he's a real brujo, and he summons a ghost. Then he has to put the ghost back to his grave, but he falls in love with the ghost, and I feel like this is going to be very exciting. And getting back the fun of urban fantasy in young adult fiction, and urban fantasy is one of my favorite genres, so. Then also on June 9th, I'm expecting The Damned by Renee Addy, which is a young adult paranormal historical fiction. It has werewolves, it has vampires. This book was a huge surprise for me this year because it was pitched as the next Twilight, and I don't really like Twilight. This though was not Twilight at all. It was absolutely a book that was written for the types like me that love historical fiction, love paranormal shit in historical fiction. It reminded me a lot of Penny Dreadful, and I was very pleased. The next book that is coming out on June 23rd is Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. I feel like this is going to be a new, fresh young adult fantasy that we're always looking for because young adult fantasy is an overpopulated genre. The protagonist of this book is a girl who was training to be a spy, but who accidentally brings back to life one of her friends and discovers her powers for necromancy. She has to serve the Spider King now and look after a Forest of Souls. A lot of things sound very cool about this premise. I want to know who is the Spider King. I am always excited for creepy forests, and necromancy is a huge thing for me too, so we'll see. Also, that cover. On July 21st, I'm expecting The State of Us by Sean David Hutchinson, which is going to be my first Sean David Hutchinson. He writes weird young adult fiction, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't really like weird fiction. But it gives me red and white and royal blue feels, even though I know it's not going to be the same. It's going to be very different, probably more serious. It is about a son of a Democratic candidate and son of the Republican candidate falling in love. I'm hoping he won't make it weird. Like, please, don't make it weird and I'm going to like it. July 21st, mark your calendars. Next fantasy that I'm also very excited about is Star Daughter. It's coming out on August 11th, and it is based on Hindu mythology, and is going to be about a daughter of a star and immortal who will have to travel to the celestial court for some reason and represent her family in a tournament. I love a good magical battle, magical tournament, magical duel, and also the Hindu mythology. It makes me very curious. I love books that are based on cultures that are not European. And I also really love the cover. On September 1st comes out a book I had no idea I need. It's The Fence novel by Sarah Rees Brennan and C.S. Paquette. C.S. Paquette was writing a graphic novel series and I love it very much, but it's very slow going. And they just straight up decided to write a young adult novel with the same plot, and hopefully it's going to move faster than this graphic novel because I'm tired. I'm jumping on the hype train for J. Kristoff with the book Empire of the Vampire, which is going to be an epic fantasy with vampires. It's also going to be illustrated and it comes out on September 3rd. I love vampire books, so you know that, it's not a secret. And even though I was not that jazzed about 𝕊𝕆𝕆𝕂𝕊 and honestly didn't care for it much, I think this one is going to be good. The last book that I want to talk about in this video is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab. I think she's going to go by V. Schwab because it's an adult book, and it is a love story between a French girl and the devil that is going to span through 300 years. She talks a lot about it. It was her dream book. She always wanted to write it, and I want to see what is up with that. The plot appeals so much to me, and there is no publication date, so I think it's gonna be at the end of the year. These are all the books that I'm very excited to read in 2020. I can't believe it's 2020 already. Tell me in the comments down below if any of those books you expect as well. If you have other releases that you're very excited about, maybe I will look into them. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you soon with another one. But until then,